They were talking about the idea of compound interest. This is going to be a different kind of video than my normal content because I will be talking live without any script about a specific subject. And today it's about compound interest, which I'm surprised that not a lot of people understand. As you can see here, we can have a calculator, which will help us see exactly the effect of what compounding can do over time. So, if you are any kind of normal person, you probably have a set amount of savings, let's say $2,000, which we'll use as the value for the initial investment in this case. Next, we're going to look at the monthly contribution. If you want to invest, you usually set aside a certain amount for each month. I would say you can do it with $500, $100, $1,000 if you can afford it. But I believe for our example, $500 should be a good amount. And let's say that we're going to do it for the next 30 years, which will enable us to see how the effect of compounding will start, because it takes a lot of time for it to actually become significant. If we go down and we look at the interest rate, let's say that we're doing better than average. The average of the S&P is around 11% per year without taking into account inflation. But let's say that we're going towards maybe 15%. We're hopeful. We're investing into something more risky than the normal ETF route. And let's say that our interest rate can vary a bit, let's say by 5% up or down. So we can go up to 20% per year or to 10% per year if we're unlucky. And the compounding frequency, we can leave it as annually. And let's see what's the effect. So this is the most surprising part for most people. As you can see, in 30 years, with only the parameters that we've added, we can reach a net worth of around nearly $3 million with just $500 each month. You can see from this graph how long it takes for compounding to kick in and really make a difference. And you can clearly see in the table that we're just adding $500 each month, but on top of that, we have the values which are compounding. Because after the first year, we get some, of course, the principal that we're adding each month, but also some interest that we're getting from the initial amount. Now, let's say what happens if you're, let's say, starting from zero. So we have a zero initial investment. Also, maybe you cannot invest $500 each month. Let's say that you can only invest $50 each month, which if you're skipping on a few coffees, it's pretty doable. We're doing the same amount of years, but let's say that we're a bit more pessimistic and we're expecting only a 10% return. And let's say that this can go up and down by around 3%. Let's see how that affects the result. So it's in 30 years, you can still get to around $100,000 with only $50 invested each month. Now, when people look at investing, they usually say that they cannot start investing with only $50 each month. But when you look at it, you can see that only with $50 each month, you can get to $100,000. What I wanted to show you here is that any amount counts, no matter how small. If you can improve the amount that you save each month, in the end, it's going to make a huge difference, like $100,000 for each $50 saved. Now, if we're going to go further, we can check this other calculator, which will help us determine how much we need to save in order to retire early, which is one of my favorite concepts. So let's say that you're currently at the age of 20 years old and you have an annual income of, let's go somewhere in the middle, even lower, $30,000 each year. And your expenses, since most probably you're living with parents or maybe in a lower rent type of situation, let's say that it's only going to take around $10,000 in annual expenses. This is without any fun expenses or anything more complex than that. So this is the bare minimum. Okay, and let's say that we're starting from zero. So if we manage to save the entire amount, we'll leave the asset allocation and the expected rate of return as it is. But I think this is a bit pessimistic. We can see that we can still achieve financial independence in 10 years. So by the age of 30. Now, this is a very bare minimum situation. You should do your own calculation. But let's say that we have bigger expenses. Let's say we need $25,000 to live on an annual basis, right? So Again, you can adjust the amounts, but the idea is the difference, right? So with this, it takes 44 years. It's a lot bigger. The concept here is that if you can improve your savings rate, you can get way faster to the goal. Like you can see here how much of a difference it made if we saved a lot less. Now, let's say that you can save 1/3 of your income, right? So we're not talking about a specific amount. This is going to take around 30 years, which is on average what we did previously with the compound calculator, right? But again, this is starting from zero and it depends on your income. The idea is to try to save at least 30% of your income. But if you can do any better, you've seen how much of a difference it makes. My suggestion for you is to use those resources for yourself and determine really how much of an impact it can make on your future. And this is a very high level way of looking at things, but you've got the concept. If you can save more, do it because it's in your own interest and your future self will thank you.